The best update I can give you at this point are the fires are out. We still have some smoldering. We have at least 6 structures that have been impacted by fire. We do have some injuries that have been transported to the hospital. At last count, that was 5. The extent of those injuries is still unknown. However, we don't think anything is critical. We do have 1 fatality. That person has been identified by the coroner's office. We are not releasing that name at this point due to notification of loved ones and family. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer those. We probably will not have another media release until noon today, and we'll do that here at this location if you intend to stay with us. The next phase of this effort will be to identify folks that are missing or that are unaccounted for. At this point, I think there's 5 to 7 persons that we don't actually know their whereabouts. We've prompted social media and other aspects to try to get them to show up at New Hope Baptist Church. That's on Roman Road, just south of this vicinity. If you have a relative that resides at the Indian Camp subdivision area, then and you've had contact with them, they need to come to New Hope so we can account for them, make sure they're not missing. The debris and structures at the site are still too hot to deal with, so that's going to hamper our search efforts for any persons, but that is ongoing. We expect to be here most of the day. There's no rush at this point. Crews are on scene from Enbridge and the railroad to make sure that the area is safe, and I have nothing else to add.
Was an airplane involved in this incident?
We have no reason to believe there was an airplane involved. There was a report earlier that someone saw or heard an airplane. 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, that I can understand how that would come up, because we had a massive fire plume in the area that was seen from several counties away. So we also had a call that a train was on fire. Railroad tracks is in close proximity. We have an airport in close proximity. So I understand that, but we have nothing, no debris or any wreckage to indicate that a plane or a train was involved in this incident. It appears to be a rupture of a 30-inch gas transmission pipeline.
And still working to figure out what caused that rupture?
Certainly that'll be ongoing. I don't know that we'll have that information today. I'll let Jim refer to that.
We have our engineers en route, but it could take several days. Like you say, right now it's still too hot. And we have our experts on the way in from Houston and Nashville. So it could take several days to determine that. We don't know.
Do we know when more of Highway 127 is going to be opened up?
As long as we have responders and apparatus on scene, we will probably keep that shut down. I know it's an inconvenience, but we have to determine the best safety for our responders. We do have other routes that can be accessed to avoid that area, and at this point that's paramount, because we still have fire engines and EMS vehicles and other response vehicles entering and exiting a very narrow entrance.
You had said earlier today that you were concerned that other pipes in the area could have been compromised from the explosion. Is that still a concern?
My concern is there are 3 pipelines in that area. One of them ruptured. We've been assured that the other 2 are intact. I've been advised by Enbridge, and you can deal with that they have decreased the pressure drastically on those transmission lines. We don't suspect that's going to be a problem, but they are on scene making those calculations, evaluations. So I assure you, we'll be the first to know if they change that protocol.
The other 2 lines didn't have any cover reduced, so the heat shouldn't have bothered them. But like I said, our engineers are on the way up. They would be able to best answer that question tomorrow probably.
Any idea when residents will get to go back there?
Well, no, I really don't at this point. I mean, we are allowing some access by not residents, but responders, evaluators. We have folks that are interested in seeing about their pets. We have folks that are interested in getting some medications. It's just too dangerous to send them back in at this point. We don't send firefighters or law enforcement into people's houses to get their medicine or pets. It's just not, we just can't do that at this point. There's just too much going on.
Do you think they'll get back there today?
I think they'll get back there today. I think it'll be after lunch. But the part of the area that has been compromised, there's just nothing left. So the residences that are still standing or damaged will be accessible. There doesn't really look like there's any in between back there. They're either destroyed or they're still standing. They may have some siding melted off or some damage of that sort. We've even had some reports of damage and some livestock injured on the other side of the railroad tracks. But this is a pretty big debris field. There's a lot of impact in that area. I'm really glad it didn't happen at a time when kids were outside playing or something like that. We don't know what caused this, so there's no need speculating on it. I don't look for the folks to get back in there anytime soon, but maybe within the next 4 or 5 hours.
Any idea of how big the debris field is?
I would say 3 or 4 acres, wouldn't you?
No, I'd say really more than that. I'd say
There were
5
reports.
at least, yeah.
There
5
were
at
reports of debris hitting vehicles on this side of the highway, which is a good quarter mile away. So there's really it's just guessing at this point. We've got some overhead video and pictures that we'll analyze a little later on. Now that it's daylight and we can get better idea of what we're looking at, we're focusing our abilities and capabilities at the scene right now.
And any idea of when the recovery efforts will start after all this?
They've already started, but we've not identified any casualties that are still at the scene, and that's going to take a little while simply because of the heat. But hopefully we can identify folks that are missing at a shelter or by contacting by phone or by family. If the worst comes to worst and we have to go through the debris, we'll do that, but it's just too hot right now. But we've already started that phase.
Yeah, our main were destroyed. As far as the number, there were several residences that were destroyed. However, our main goal right now is to identify people who may have left the area. We still have several people that were unaccounted for, and that's why we're asking if you left the area to make sure that you come back to New Hope Baptist Church to check in. We have an arson investigator. We have several investigators that are on the scene, working with multiple agencies. As you can imagine right now at the scene, there's multiple agencies involved, and it's a collaborative investigation. And so right now we're going to be looking for people as soon as it starts cooling down, and that may be several hours, start sifting through the scene, looking through to see what actually is there. And then our other goal is to keep people safe that are in the area. That's why we have about a 4-mile detour set up for traffic, which seems to be flowing fairly well. And we don't want to let people inside because we're still trying to determine exactly how big this scene could potentially be. And the more people we have moving through the area, it could disrupt investigative efforts. So as soon as we start, establishing those boundaries, people outside of that area, we can start allowing people to come back. But we'll keep you posted on when that exactly will happen.
Any update on the train backup and the company that's being affected?
Last I heard that several trains were affected. As I mentioned, safety is our priority, and as soon as we start establishing what can be reopened, they will be. And as soon as that can happen and those can be opened, the proper phone calls will be made, and traffic will start beginning to resume to normal.
They were actively working on, the railroad was actively working on the damage done to the tracks just a little bit ago, and probably they initially said it would be about a 2-hour job, and that was when they started. So I would think within the next probably 2 hours that issue would probably be alleviated, and they will be able to start trains.
But they have a number of trains that are backed up, so that's going to take a while. There'll be a lot of traffic through here in the area. It should not interfere with what's going on at the scene itself.
No.
But they've been very cooperative. They are on scene, as is Enbridge and Texas Eastern. So I expect probably by noon we will have the railroad open where they can begin their commerce.
When's the last time they've had a gas line explosion? No?
Back in the 80s, over in Garrett County. And it was in the 80s.
It was in the 80s.
I remember.
Tell you what year, but it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
You know, we've
And I
had
don't know
minor
what year.
we've had minor breaks. We've had valves pop off and things like that. But as far as an explosion with the fire and damage that we have here, yeah, it's been years, many years back.